Welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Batholkas, and tonight I'm going to be doing a review of Aquaman. I saw this last night, and I'm going to do a spoiler free review and a spoiler review. So I'm going to start off with a spoiler free review for those of you who haven't seen it and are on the fence about whether or not you should see it. I went into this movie with high hopes, and I really liked the trailers and everything going into it, and I was disappointed. I have to say that much for it. The CGI wasn't that great in spots, and I'll get into that in the spoiler portion of it. And then also, there's a lot of scenes taken from the last 15 years or so of movies. And strangely enough, nothing from DC. It's very weird. A lot of Marvel stuff, some Lord of the Rings, things like that, and I'll get into that again in the spoiler portion of it. And it ran really long too. The editor for this was not very good. There's a lot of abrupt edits where you're watching this and oh, okay, I guess that's where the scene ends because it jumps to straight into another scene. There's no nice transitions or anything like that. It's very kind of jarring, and then the movie runs. You feel the whole 2 hours or 2 plus hours of length of the movie, and yeah, it was very meandering. Um, the plot wasn't great, and then also Jason Momoa. I liked the guy. He just didn't carry it for me as Aquaman. I don't know what it was. He was okay in Justice League as Aquaman, but this one, yeah, it just wasn't doing it for me. So with that said, where would what would I recommend if you're on the fence about it and you really don't want to, you don't know where to go? I would wait to cable. If you really are curious to see where it's going to be at, what it's like, go and watch it in a bargain matinee movie. That'll probably be about what it's worth. If you're really curious, you're probably going to regret it later on, but there you go. So with that said, we're going to go into spoiler territory. So spoiler alerts from here on out. So those of you who don't want to be spoiled, now's your time to leave at the 2 minute and 30 second mark. Thank you, Viking bitch, for the paddle. So with that said, spoilers. They really ripped off a lot of scenes from Marvel, especially Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America. There's shield scenes. I'm not kidding you, where he actually uses a shield of sorts. He uses a door as a shield and throws it as like a Captain America shield. Um, there's a lot of stuff from Guardians of the Galaxy underwater, if you will. There that it's pretty much taken from Guardians of the Galaxy. You can tell, and also Lord of the Rings. There's a large fight sequence that happens underwater that is taken from Lord of the Rings. Um, the Alien Queen makes an appearance at one point as a kraken kind of creature, which I thought was kind of interesting. And yeah, it's just a very weird selection of choices in this. And again, like I said, the editing didn't help either. There's a lot of really abrupt editing that you would think that somebody at this level would have already factored that out by this point, but there's a lot of really bad edits. And then let's talk about the CGI too. Uh, they do some de aging, a la Ant Man and the Wasp in the very beginning, and yeah, it doesn't hold up well. Uh, it really doesn't. The man who plays Tom Curry, Tamora Morrison, they de-aged him, and all I could keep looking at was his forehead in the very beginning, because his forehead didn't move even when he made expressions. See how my forehead moves when I do expressions? His didn't move at all. It was very weird. Same thing with Nicole Kidman as Atlanta, or yeah, not Atlanta. Excuse me. uh, Atlanta, Atlanta is what her name is. It's very hard to pronounce, unfortunately, for me on that. And she kind of went into the uncanny valley, but her face is already like that from the surgery that she's had done, and so you couldn't tell if it was CGI or surgery, which was kind of funny. But there's definitely some CGI moments, and yeah, it was just very odd. And then later on, when they decide to try and age her a little bit more with makeup, but still leave her with a glamour look at the same time. Think Michelle Pfeiffer from Ant-Man and the Wasp, if you will. It didn't work. It really didn't. There was some really weird stuff, and yeah, and the less said about the reunion scene between Curry and Lana, uh, the less said the better. It's a slow motion run towards the beach, run towards each other on the beach, only it's on a dock, and it's really bad. I know they were going for the cheese factor on this one, but they kind of missed the cheese factor and went into the bad territory. You know how you can go bad and you can go past the bad into cheese and being good? This kind of missed it. And I know a lot of people were saying, yeah, it is cheesy, it's fun, that kind of thing. There are some fun moments, but not great. Not throughout the entire movie, I should say. And you feel the entire runtime, the 2+ hour long minutes of 2+ long hours of this. The guy sitting next to me who smelled of Droit Noir and nacho cheese, who was texting intermittently between the movie, he was losing interest, which, if that gives you an indication, and his obviously his train of thought was very limited as it was. So yeah, it wasn't, the shiny lights were not holding his attention. Let's just say. The battle sequences were good, but again, really, really busy. I couldn't see seeing this in 3D, to tell you the truth. So overall, and again, going back to the story kind of meandered. It wasn't. They kept doing flashbacks when they could have just done this in the very beginning and told the whole story in a linear fashion. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So you're asking, okay, so where does this stand within the DC movies? It is the best of the current DC movies. It's not saying much, but probably by just a smidge. It's the best out of all the DC movies. But yeah, I honestly I couldn't recommend it. I'd have to say, yeah, watch it on cable if you're really interested in seeing it. Otherwise, you can, you know, if you really need to see what it looks like because you're still on the fence, go and see it at Bargain Matinee, and don't see it in 3D. See it in 2D. Other than that, yeah, I wasn't too impressed with it. It's nothing that I'm going to go back and see. I don't think it's going to age very well at all. And yeah, and the villains just weren't compelling either. Orem, or Ocean Master, however you want to do it, just was very two-dimensional, cheesy, and it was very comic booky, but like a little too comic booky, like almost mustache twirling comic booky. And then you also have Black Manta, who, yeah, there's some questionable things too in there with Black Manta and the history of how he comes to be. It was just, yeah. And then, oh, and let me talk about the music selection. The music selection was very, very odd. At one point, when Mira is running across the rooftops and her and Arthur are trying to outrun Atlantean troops, there's actually a video game kind of music. I was almost thinking Mario Brothers in a way. You know, yeah, it was really that bad. And I'm going, who chose the music for this movie? Because it's a really horrible selection. And yeah, all I can say is when you stay for the credits, there is one end scene, if you will. Stinger Sting. It comes about, after the false credits. With I should say the animated credits before you get to the full cast credits, and it's really not that great, to tell you the truth. It's okay, but yeah, it didn't hold my attention all that well. I looked at my my clock a couple of times, and I'd have to say, skip it. Go and see something else. Go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse again if you need to. Other than that, yeah, I can't recommend it. So if you like this review and you want to see more from me, click like and subscribe on the little button down there. And join us on Saturdays. Saturday, I'm going to be doing the Saturday morning blast off, where we're going to be talking about trailers, news, everything geek, everything you guys want to talk about as well. And other than that, I will see you next time. And don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Thanks.